Yo, 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 yo. We back. Y'all can hear me? Alright, bet. Why was that shit muted, bro? Oh no, this is what I need actually. Okay, y'all can hear me. Alright, bet. I don't know what that was. Alright. My bad. What an amateur. What's good, man? How's everybody doing? Yeah. Happy Monday, man. Welcome in. Sit down, get settled. Kick back, get some food. Relax. Yes, sir. I know I'm dragging it. I know I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm dragging it. What's good, man? Happy Monday. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing all right. I hope everybody had a great weekend. We back, baby. We back. So I hope, like I said, I hope everybody had a good weekend. What was everybody getting into? Let me make sure that the audio is fine on this. All right, bet. All right, we're good. I think we're good. Now, we tried to get some Christmas shopping out the way yesterday, so that was really the bulk of what our weekend was about. So that was our Sunday. Went to church, and then And by the way, we got this new priest. We got like this new priest in the church. Or not, sorry, no. He's not a new priest. He's like the bishop for the district, I think. And so he came in and he was great. Like he was great. He was truly great. His homily was awesome, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Like at some point, I was just really hungry. It was really hot. It was really humid over here, super humid over here. It was gross, and he was just checking me out. I was like, his masses definitely, he definitely has his masses go over the time every single time. He was great though. He was great, but we did that. We got some Christmas shopping out the way. Trying to get ready. This shit's next week. Like I don't know if y'all like noticed, but this shit is next week. If this time has flown, it's already gonna be a new year in just a couple weeks. So we're here, man. We're here. But happy Monday. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Welcome in. I hope y'all had a great weekend. What did y'all get into, man? What did y'all get into? I hope everybody had a good time. I hope everyone had a good time. But welcome back, man. Welcome back, and welcome to another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball, sports, and any other topic that comes our way as accurate as possible. Now, today, we are going to be talking about the Emirates Cup. The Emirates Cup, it's here. Tomorrow night will be the game, the championship game for the cup. So we had on Saturday, we had the two games, right? We had the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Houston Rockets, and then we also had the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Excuse me. So we'll be talking all about those games in just a little bit. But just to give you guys a little bit of an overview, I, I think there's a shift in the NBA. I think there's a shift in the NBA. Let me see if I can find it. I pulled it up a couple weeks ago because we were talking about Iman Shumpert on the Carmelo Anthony podcast, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. And Shump had this comment on. He had this comment on. Actually, I don't know if it's even in here. But he was essentially saying he thinks that if they would have won, they being the Cleveland Cavaliers, had beat the Golden State Warriors in the championship, that the NBA would look totally different. Um, I think he's just talking about defense in general. Let's fuck it. Let's take a look at this. Let's see if
Talking about
That's playoff basketball.
There's no
in
defense
basketball,
for speed and pace. There's no defense for pace.
There's no
and speed.
defense.
Y'all
speed,
literally
bro.
just gave me flowers for it. That's all I did.
Well, it's a different
I guess.
game though.
No,
is
it's
what,
not.
I guess
It's
what
the
he's
same
saying.
You're somebody that didn't do it.
Game.
How I used to get on the
Tyler is
How did
different.
me and Tony Douglas get into it? Because I told him, dog, you did all this at Florida State. You was all in my handle and shit my freshman year. I remember that shit.
Yeah.
Don't go out here and let Pooh go out here and just dance.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that,
Right.
bro.
Yeah,
No.
actually,
Because now you're saying, I'm like, bro, I'm not able to stop this man in that much mellow footage. Think you finna go over your left shoulder? Fuck that fake. You going over your left.
Nah, so he doesn't talk about it in here, but in the podcast he talks about how he believes that if they would have beat the Golden State Warriors, that it would have changed the trajectory of the NBA. And I kind of believe in I kind of believe in not just him saying that, but I kind of believe in that impact. And I think we might be seeing something very similar with the NBA currently, right? So, but before we get into the cup games, let's talk a little bit about Luka Doncic, Luka Magic. Talk about a high scoring game. The Dallas Mavericks ended up beating the Golden State Warriors 143 to 133. And that was behind Luka's 45, 13 assists, 11 rebounds to go with 3 steals, 2 blocks, shot 16 of 23 from the field, 6 of 11 from the three-point line, 7 of 9 from 3. Kyrie added in 21, 8 and 3, but a really great shooting night from Klay. 29 points, 9 of 14 from the field, 7 of 11 from 3, 4 of 5 from the line. So a massive night for the Dallas Mavericks. They had, what is that, like 95 points. 95 points out of the team's total points, and they ended up with 143. On the other side, Steph Curry had 26 for the Warriors to go with 10 assists and 5 rebounds. He shot 9 of 19 from the field, 7 of 13 from 3, 1 of 1 from the line. And then Andrew Wiggins, right? Andrew Wiggins added in 29 points, 11 of 20 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3, 2 of 3 from the line, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block. Kuminga added in another 20 points, 9 of 15, 2 of 3 from the 3 and 6. And then Draymond, who's been really shooting the hell out of the ball, 21 points, 6 of 14 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3. And like I said, the first half alone, right? The first half alone, 81 to 74. I mean, if that's not if that's not like a precursor to this being a high scoring game, then I don't know what is. But I think more importantly, Luka's been kind of due for a big game. And he hasn't been playing bad per se, but by Luka standards, he has been. Right? We're expecting 30-point triple doubles from him at this point. And you know, that's not our fault. He's had so many massive performances, big scoring games, 70 plus point. I mean, we just expect greatness out of Luka at this point. So when he has bad games or when he has a bad stretch, it looks even worse. And if we're being honest, he hasn't shot the ball incredibly well this year. He's had some really bad shooting nights. And I don't know if it's rust. I don't know if it's, I've pointed at his conditioning, right? But I do think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's a rhythm player, a rhythm shooter. And you're going to expect some bad stretches. He needs to, one, try to limit some of the bad shots, but really what he needs to do is he really needs to capitalize on his mid-range. Right? When he gets in the lane and he gets his shoulder bump into his little floater, bump into his little fadeaway, he needs to be able to make those shots consistently. Right? The three-point shot, as we know, it comes and goes, right? That's why people float around 35 to 40. If you shoot 40%, that's like wow. Right? But to try to mitigate that, you have to try to stay consistent when you're a lot closer in. And for Luka, who's very capable at that, right? I would expect him to be able to make those shots consistently. Now, with this performance, I mean, even with the season that he's having, right? He's still at 28.9 points per game, 8.6 rebounds, 8.2 assists, 2.1 steals. And that's considered a slow start for him. 45% from the field, 35% from 3. So those numbers you would want to go up. Last year he was at 48.7 from the field, 38.2 from 3. So you'd want him to creep up a lot closer to those two numbers, right? To 48 and 38. And if he does that, he's looking at a cool 30 plus points per game very easily again. So I think he's about to hit a stretch. Christmas is coming around. He's going to get a little bit of a break. He gets to be with family and hang out. But, going into All Star break, I think he's about to go on a tear. Like, I think he's about to go on a tear. He's about to put up a couple 40s, maybe some 50s here and there, or a 50 here, or a 50-point game. But I think he's due for a run. A lot of players, a lot of our favorite players, a lot of the stars in the league have kind of had a stretch here and there. AD, for example, had a stretch really early on. I know he had a big game last night, but early on he was on fire. Tatum was on fire early on. Cat had a stretch. A lot of players have had their stretches. Shea recently has been on a tear. I think Luka is kind of due for one. So I'm looking for him in the next couple of games to really, really apply some pressure, right? To really apply some pressure on the league. And also in the standings, right? They're at 17 and 9 right now. And like we've talked about, in all intents and purposes, Luka has been underperforming. And so what happens when he does go on a tear in the next couple weeks, which, like I just predicted, I think he's due. Um, so what will their record look like going into All-Star break? It can look very good. They're at fourth in the Western Conference, and they haven't figured out their team. Klay Thompson has been relatively up and down for the season. Let's take a look at what his numbers look like for the year. Let's see. He's at 14 points per game, 40.8 from the field, 39.1 from three, 3.6 rebounds, 1.8 assists. So, we're looking at a Klay Thompson that hasn't fully gotten comfortable yet, right? Even though he had a really good game last night. A Luka Doncic that's been, like I said, underperforming by his standards, right? And with that being said, the Dallas Mavericks are fourth in the Western Conference, in the tough Western Conference. So, at this point, they're still my pick to make it to the NBA Finals. I think when they do get it together, that they'll be impossible to defend. Now, I wanted to take a look at where is the NBA defensive ratings for the season? Huh. Let's see. Team defense. Here it is. 24-25. Defensive rating. They're just outside of it. They're tied for 10th and 11th with Miami at 111.1 in terms of their defensive rating. They're at 10 and 11. They're 11th right now. They're tied. Just outside of the getting under 110. And even if you look at like the Cleveland Cavaliers, for example, who they haven't fallen off by any means, but they've gotten their couple of losses. Their defensive rating has dropped to 110.6. So if their defense, and talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, continues to not do so great, and now they have to rely on Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland to score, should expect them to struggle a little bit. I think their defense, for the most part, was really relieving a lot of pressure from those two guys. And if you now have to apply some more pressure on them to go and get buckets because the team isn't getting as many stops as they were doing before. Expect the Cavaliers to struggle a little bit, but here you guys can take a look at what I'm looking at right now. Defensive ratings, we'll talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Rockets later. 1 and 2, Magic are third. Minnesota Timberwolves. After their struggles in the beginning, and they've, defense has been a thing, a convo for them. They are now fourth. The reason why Memphis has even been remotely in anything, right? Where's their standings right now? Memphis is second, and it's all because of their defense. And then you have the Warriors, who have kind of dropped a little bit. The Clippers, who have been, they've maintained around this spot. Boston is also kind of maintained. I think they've actually gone up. They were like 11th before, so their defense has gotten better as the season has gone on. And then, like I said, we have Miami and Dallas. So I expect this Dallas Mavericks team. All that being said, I know it was long-winded. All that to say, even with Dallas at 11, I think even their defense can improve. And like we saw last year, right? They don't need to have the best defense in the league. They don't. They don't need to have the best defense in the league. Because if a game is close, they have Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and now their kick out is Klay Thompson. So by the end of the season, I'm sure their defense will get a little bit better. Actually, I think they'll creep up into the 110 points per game, in terms of their defensive rating. But as long as the game is close, their chances of winning are higher than most teams. So their defense, like I said, does not have to be the best. It just needs to be good enough, and they have guys that can close out games. But yeah, they took care of business. We're over here talking about defense, and they won 133 against the Warriors. But hey, man, hey, it is what it is. Now, I think this was a rematch, right? The Knicks just took on the Orlando Magic as well too. Yeah, this is a rematch of the Knicks in the, right before the Atlanta Hawks, right? Yep. So the Knicks win 100-91, and talk about the complete opposite end of the spectrum, right? From the Warriors, the Warriors Mavericks game that we were just talking about. But we had 22 and 22 from Cat. 22 and 22, and then 31, 5 and 3 for Brunson. For the Magic, Mo Wagner had 32 points, 6 rebounds, and assists, and 2 steals. And Tristan Da Silva had himself 23 and 2 to go along with it. And it was just an extremely low-scoring game, but a game you like to see out of the New York Knicks, right? We need these gritty, tough victories, and we need to stack them up because, as we've seen, right, if we're hitting on all cylinders as the New York Knicks, we have a ton of firepower. Between Brunson, Cat, if Mikal Bridges is hitting shots, if OG's slashing and hitting shots, Josh Hart is doing his thing, Deuce McBride is doing his thing. We have some firepower. Like, we really, really do have some firepower. And so the scenarios where everyone is playing well and hitting shots, we don't really have to worry about that. It's these close, tight games, right? Can we pull off these victories when it's tight, it's gritty, it's defensive, it's back and forth, it's low scoring? Can we manage games and find a way to win them? I know we just lost one to the Atlanta Hawks. I know. But That's the Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young. I think that's a totally different situation. I think that we need to deal with that situation at a later date. But these victories along the way will go. It'll take us far. I think, right? If we're just over here blowing everyone out at 16-10, I think we're still decent. I don't think we're where we need to be. Um, but yeah, I think we're definitely in contention, and we are still improving. So great, great, great signs for the New York Knicks. Now, let's talk about. Let's start right over here, man. Yep, let's start right over here. So, on Saturday, we saw the Atlanta Hawks take on the Milwaukee Bucks, and they were in Las Vegas already, right, for the Cup. And like I said, Giannis was just simply too much. Damian Lillard had himself also a pretty good game. Didn't shoot the ball great, but alleviated some pressure from Giannis. Excuse me. And then Trae Young had one of those really like a throwback game with his 35-10. Really kind of different from the Trae Young that we've seen this season, right? Excuse me. But like I said, Giannis was just simply too much. Like there was no way they were going to match up with Giannis. And even if you get the same amount of points as him, right? Like look at the stat sheet. Trae had 35, Giannis got 32. He pretty much matched his output, right? In terms of scoring. But the impact on the game, right? Giannis's impact, the attention that he draws, possession and possession to possession, because of his size, his athleticism, his quickness and strength. It's hard to match that for anyone, regardless of how well or how bad the Bucks are playing. You have to deal with Giannis. That's why it's been so impressive how they've been losing games, right? Because just Giannis Antetokounmpo alone is a lot to deal with for teams. And then you add a Damian Lillard, even with a broken offense, they should be able to win a decent amount of their games, and they've struggled. But what we've seen in these cup games, right, when it's one meaningful game, when it's this massive game, Giannis is a star among stars. Like it just whether you like him or not, I know he could whine sometimes. I know there's a lot of shit that he could do that could annoy a lot of people. And like I said, I knew he would get to the line a lot against this team. 18 out of 12 is just yikes. But you can't deny how effective Giannis is in a playoff style atmosphere kind of game. He is so effective in that type of game where it's a little bit dirty, a little bit mucky, right? It's a little messy. You gotta grind it out and you gotta be gritty. Get to the free throw line. It's a game made for Giannis. So I think that's what we saw right here with the success. With the success of the Milwaukee Bucks, and obviously they move on to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And so let's get right into the next matchup because I have a lot to say about the finals, the Cup finals in general, right? And so we saw the number one and the number two defense take on each other in the NBA Cup with the Houston Rockets taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? 111-96. And it took a little bit, right? Like, it really took a little bit for the Oklahoma City Thunder to really get a hold of this game, right? They were down by 142-41 going into the first half, going into halftime, right? So super low scoring game. And I mean, I said it the last game because it was a masterclass by Shea, right? I said that he took that matchup against the Dallas Mavericks personally. And I'm inclined to say that he probably felt the same about this game, right? Taking on the number 2 defense in the league and still getting his buckets, playing his game against his teammate in Canada and Dillon Brooks. And it really was Shea. Shea really was the difference, because if you look, right, if you look at the spread of points for the Houston Rockets, right, if anyone, and I mean anyone, would have gotten another 10 points, this game could have looked totally different. And that was really the difference here. 19, 20, 21. And then Shea goes and gets 32. Like, that was the difference in the game. His ability to get timely buckets, his ability to, when everything is crazy, right? When shit hits the fan, he can go and get a bucket. And it is so important. Like, he hits shots, right? I'm trying to compare it to someone, and he's not Steph Curry, obviously, right? But when he shoots these mid-range shots, you can almost feel the crowd go. It's like they get, if you're rooting against them, it's like they get let down, that like they expected it, and it's like, he might miss, and then he doesn't miss. That's the feeling it gives whenever he hits a bucket. And by the way, I think Shea has actually added something to his game. See, before it was all about driving, right? Let's say he's driving to the left, he would shoulder you, and he would either just fall away or do a little side step back, or shoulder you, or hit you, bump you with the shoulder, and either step through or spin. But especially last night's on Saturday's game against Dillon Brooks, right, who's the bigger player, he was jump stopping. And it was unbelievable. He would jump stop and then just go up and shoot right away. And it was as if Dillon Brooks, because he's played against him so much, it seemed like every time Shea jump stopped, it was as if Dillon Brooks was expecting the shoulder bump, because that's typically what Shea does. That's his go-to. Right? His move is the shoulder bump, right or left. He got a package for each one. And so he would just get to a spot, jump stop, and pull up, and it was like, and Dillon Brooks was almost like, what the fuck? And it's this really minor detail, right? It almost, like, in if you took a picture of it, it almost looks like he's doing the same thing. He's gonna drive into you, shoulder bump, stop and shoot, but he would, and it's brilliant. The simplicity of adding something so basic and simple like that, it now forces defenders to have to think about it. Is he gonna bump into me first? Is he gonna jump stop? If he jump stops, is he gonna go up and shoot, or is he gonna bump me? Is he gonna pump fake? If now you have this additional thing, right? If he's driving left, now you're like, fuck, what is he gonna do? Because there's like 2 or 3 things he could do, and from each of those 2 or 3 outcomes, each one has its own set of sequences that he could create off of it. This guy is, he's unbelievable. like absolutely unbelievable. And I do want to give the Houston Rockets a lot of credit too, because they tried, they stuck with it. They stuck with it. It was that third quarter where the Thunder won 34-27, where I felt like the game really shifted. Lou Dort had himself, he got loose a little bit. Shea got 12, Lou Dort got 11. And they were able to get loose. So from that point on in the third quarter, right, Houston was trying to come back. And the issue, right, and they ended up losing the fourth quarter 36-27, right? The issue for this Houston Rockets team that they have to figure out is this, right? They have one of the best team defenses in the entire league this season, right? They play incredible team defense. But in the third and fourth quarter, when the games are close, you need to have your scorers out there, your offensive players, right? Either to come back or to push leads. The issue that the Houston Rockets have is their 2 best defenders are sitting on the bench, in Amen Thompson and Tari Eason. That is their biggest issue. In the third quarter, Thompson played 7 minutes and 24 seconds. Eason played 5 minutes and 20. In the fourth quarter, Thompson played 6:51 and Eason played 2 minutes. Right? 14 minutes for Thompson in the second half, 7:20 for Eason, right? Let's look at the first half. Versus 15:26 in the first half for Thompson, 10:03 in the first half for Eason. And to me, that's the difference, right? When you're trying to come back in a game, you need to be able to, 1, score, but 2, you also need to get stops. And when a team starts to get rolling, right, like the Oklahoma City Thunder did, and they have such a great individual player in Shea, the defense has to start individually. Like, someone needs to be able to get a stop individually on defense. It can't just be all team defense, because all that help is going to lead to overhelping, and now it opens up and Lou Dort gets 11 points in the third quarter. So, yes, team defense is great, but at some point, someone's going to have to get a one-on-one stop. And if your best one-on-one defenders are sitting on the bench while you're trying to make a run to come back, well then, you're going to have a hard time if you're the Houston Rockets. And for most of this season, right, it's worked out for them for most of this year. And your goal is to try to make sure that Amen Thompson and Tari Eason, stays on the bench. Well then, you'll be able to control these games. And so that's what I'm looking for teams to figure out with the Houston Rockets. But I do think that they have a nice thing going for them, right? It's just a matter of trying to figure out how to get those guys more minutes, essentially, right? That's really what it comes down to. And so when we look at this finals, right, of the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Milwaukee Bucks. I feel like there's a shift in the NBA. Now, when it comes to these cup games, right? How many of them were these super low scoring? What is this? Look, we'll take a look at this right now, right? 91 to 90, right? 111 to 96, both very defensive games. Low scoring, defensive, tough game. Another one that was a pretty tough game. This was also a lot of defense, you know. It was just Giannis was just able to get off. But when we look at the trajectory, right? Where the NBA is heading towards. And I don't want to keep doing this, but I'm going to anyway. Fuck it. Right? 2 weeks ago, I posted a video. This NBA season will be defined by defense. I wasn't bullshitting. Because the writing is on the wall. The defensive teams are having success. And a part of it are the referees. This is the game that y'all asked for. It's the game that I asked for. Those same people that were saying, oh, the NBA has gotten soft, teams don't play defense, da-da-da-da-da. Well, there you have it right there. 110, 102, 111, 96. What was the Knicks game the other night? 100 to 91. I mean, this is exactly the kind of games that when you let physicality go, which the referees have to allow, by the way, right? The referees have to let that stuff happen. This is the outcome. This is the game that people were asking for. And mind you, it looks beautiful. Like it looks great. Because when a player like Shea gets his 32 and it's tough, it's so satisfying. You're like, he earned that shit. There was no walk-up threes or people were just leaving him open and drop coverage. No, the shots are contested. He's making tough shots and he's making right reads. And the other team is trying. It's beautiful basketball. It really, really is. And then on the other side, you have a freak of nature in Giannis. And him and Dame are both one-on-one players. If this were 2002, the Milwaukee Bucks would be the best team in the league. If you had a Giannis and a Dame in a one-on-one heavy league, they would dominate everything. And those two teams meet in the final, in the Emirates Cup finals. Oh, by the way, let's not even mention the fact that Giannis is, not Giannis, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a mid-range assassin. He's a mid-range killer. The part of the game that analytics says doesn't work. Meanwhile, this guy is having success at an MVP caliber with it. And his team plays defense. So, I'll give the NBA this credit, right? They hear all the noise. They hear all the shit that everyone is talking about. They hear all of it, all the narratives, all the. eh, they don't get to this point if they're stupid. But at the same time, they can't just shift everything overnight, right? That would generate no money. It would just be a stark contrast from one day or one season to another. So what does the NBA do? They use these storylines to be able to push the game of basketball. And then 1, 2, 3 years go by and you're like, the game is different. Yeah, because they were trying to shift it all those 3 years. Steph Curry's no longer making it to the NBA Finals. Hell, he didn't even make it to the playoffs last year. And yes, the Boston Celtics are a 3-point heavy basketball team. Absolutely. But they do a lot of other things as well too. Jason Tatum lives on the free throw line. Jaylen Brown attacks the basket constantly. And he damn near hates the NBA. The Dallas Mavericks are Luka Luka would be a 2000s NBA coach's wet dream. No bullshit. His ability to play one-on-one and dictate offense, and you can ISO him at any point of the floor. Luka is also a callback to old. I mean, you could say he got all these modern moves, but he's a callback to old school basketball. And so all of those people that were bitching and moaning about the NBA, open your fucking eyes. Because the old style is right there if you look for it. Everybody's going to keep looking for the bad shit, but if you open your eyes and look for it, old basketball is still there. It's alive and well. You just have to fucking look for it. And I think the reality is this, right? No matter what anyone does or no matter what the NBA does, people are going to complain. Oh, it's low scoring. Oh, it's boring. Oh my God, look, the referees aren't calling this. They're not calling that. That's a defensive game. That's how the game used to be played. So if you're complaining about too much offense and there's no one playing defense, then you gotta love the 91-90 game that the Rockets and the Warriors had. You can't have it both ways. You can't have a bunch of offensive, free-flowing guys and they let both can't coexist. Not constantly, not consistently. Are you going to have a high-scoring game where the referees are trying to call it tight? Maybe. It'll be really difficult to, but maybe. So, I think there's a shift in the NBA. There's a shift. There's an emphasis on defense that hasn't been there in recent memory. Think about it, right? The shiny new toy, the greatest new prospect that the NBA has is Victor Wembanyama. And he has all of these offensive skills, da 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 da. What was the first thing that they started promoting him for in the NBA? The Defensive Player of the Year award. So the new rookie who's supposed to take over the league, who's supposed to be the next best thing, the very first award that he's in contention for, that he's in conversations about, that the NBA is now pushing. People were saying it last year. You got to promote yourself to make sure he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year. The NBA is pushing defense. You motherfuckers just can't see it. But don't blame them because you can't see it. It's right there in front of y'all. I've said this for weeks, right? I've said this for weeks. We have 8 teams now that are under 110 points per game in their defensive rating. 8. That's the most since 2019. And in a league that's supposed to be all about offense and 3-pointers and da 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 da, defense has come back to life somehow. And defenders, Dyson Daniels is making a name for himself. So just pay attention to what's going on in the NBA. Just pay attention. The NBA is a copycat league. Last year, the Indiana Pacers made it to the Cup game, I think, by accident. I don't think they were supposed to be there. Between beating the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, I promise you guys, I promise you, that was not in the NBA's plans at all. It was not in the NBA's plans at all. And so I think there's a shift in the NBA. They're trying to change it up. They're doing European this. They're talking about all these other things while they're currently trying to shift the NBA more defense into a different brand, because this is the reality, right? When it comes to companies, you got to rebrand every 5 to 10 years. And what is that? 2016 was the first time the Warriors won. We're nearing a decade since that happened. And so it's about time for the NBA to hit a little rebrand and to try to change the game up a little bit. And people are still going to complain and bitch about it, but it is what it is. But that's going to do it for me for now. I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all are the best. I know I was on my conspiracy theorist bullshit today, but hey, man, if it's true, it's true. Oh, who is winning the cup? Are we going to go with the old or the new? I think my heart is saying the Oklahoma City Thunder, but my mind is saying this is going to go to the Milwaukee Bucks because it would benefit the league. Like I really do think that. So I I I I honestly I would prefer if the Oklahoma City Thunder win it. But I think the Milwaukee Bucks win the Emirates Cup Finals tomorrow night, Tuesday. That's going to do it for me for now. I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all have a great rest of y'all Monday. You have a great Tuesday, and I'll see you back here on Wednesday. We'll watch the game. I don't know if I'll go on live tomorrow. We'll see. But I will see y'all later. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Peace. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. It really helps the channel out. We're trying to take this to the moon, baby, and I appreciate y'all. Y'all could have been anywhere on the internet, but y'all were here with me, and I appreciate you for that. So I'll see y'all later, man. Peace, 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 peace. Y'all have a great rest of y'all.